Hello. Welcome to the Adaptive Insights Training Series videos. In this video, we're going to walk you through how to add medication counting to both new and existing medications. In this example for controlled substances, we'll cover how inventory is created, how accounts are applied, and how those actions are recorded behind the scenes for compliance and audit tracking. We'll start with a simple medication entry and build from there, explaining each as we add counting. My name is Huey Tinman, and I'll be walking you through this training. To get started, we're going to click on Baritone's image, and then we're going to select Medication Services and Nurse. We'll come down to the bottom of the page where we see the inventory of medications. I'm going to come over here. We have a medication created as any counted medication. Let's click on Edit for that medication. Once we have created the medication and we go back in to edit it, then the Track Inventory icon will appear here, and you can select that. When you selected the Track Inventory icon, the next thing that happens is that your grid shows up for inventory, reorder point, and dose. So let's go ahead and set a reorder point of 10, and then we'll set a dose of 1. So each time this medication is passed, there's going to be reduced by 1. The next thing we'll look at is we have our time is set at 8 o'clock a.m. and 8 o'clock p.m. This was predefined in the existing medication we set up, and because we selected Track Inventory, it also already has added a Track Inventory note that simply says Track Inventory Enabled. That's basically the same thing as Edit Medication Note. Down to the bottom of the page, now we click on Add Track Inventory. Now, once we've selected Add Track Inventory, this pop-up arrives that allows us to enter our total medication inventory for this medication. And in this case, I'm going to set that at 100. And I'm going to click on Receive. So we have assumed that we counted the medications, and we have 100 on hand. That is how many medications are present at a dose of 1. Now, we don't want to count 100 medications every time a medication is passed. So the solution to that is, let's add some of this to Overstock, and let's put 80 of these medications into Overstock. We'll put them into a closet under lock and key because it is a controlled substance. And then we won't have to count all of the medications. They're only going to have to count 20. And we're just going to say new med for a note here. Very good. We'll fix our spelling error there, and now we will save this. With that, our next pop-up arrives that instructs us to manage medication counting. The first thing that we can add in here is going to be count as administered. So every time this medication is scheduled to be administered, it is going to be counted as well. 8 o'clock a.m., 8 o'clock p.m. was inherited from the original medication schedule. So each of those med passes, the user will be instructed to count the medication and to verify that that medication is accurate. Change the amount if it is an inaccurate count, and then proceed to the next task. I'm going to save that schedule. Now also what we want to do is we want to count in use. And count in use is going to be where we will go and look at all of the medications in the closet that are under lock and key. And also the medications that are on hand that the direct care staff has at their disposal to administer daily and are counting. So we'll click on Count and Use. Count all locations of this medication, meaning wherever the medication for this is stored, we want to get a full count of that. And we would use at this point any of the advanced scheduling options if you need to. This is no different than your scheduling for medication administration. You're simply scheduling when medications will be counted. And it could be for a shift change. It could be just because you count 3 times a day for safety. Whatever your intentions are, you can use the advanced scheduling options to set that up. The easiest way to do this is to simply set your times. You've got 8 option slots in here. So I'm going to set this for 5 o'clock p.m., and that's going to happen every day. If we wanted to set that differently, we could. Now I'm going to save the schedule. You can see that we have the as admin and we have the in use. You can come over and delete either one of these schedules if you want to, and recreate it and change it, and that should not affect your existing counts. However, that would affect your counts going forward because you're changing the times. This is a schedule. We'll use this close button and we will close that out. Now, as we look at our medication, you can see that count has been added, and you also have the option to remove count. If you click on that remove count, that medication will no longer be available. If you click on count, this brings you back up to your window where you can reschedule. If you want to add a day for count in use, for example, I would recommend that you delete the count in use. If you're going to modify it and recreate it here and then save it again and put it back in, I wouldn't add a second or third count in use over the top of this just for safety's sake to make sure everything flows smoothly. So let's close that. The next thing that we'll do is we're going to go up and we're going to select Medication Admin Charting. And we're going to take a look at the results here. You see, we started off with 1 medication, any counted medication, and now you see count in use, any counted medication. That is the one that we scheduled to be counted in use. When the user clicks on the medication, the way we are configured right now is that a single signature is all that's needed. The medication comes up as 19 because we gave them an inventory of 20 to work with, and now we're passing one of those medications. And so the remaining dose is 19. We can add a comment and say, all good, for example, and we'll chart dose and save. Okay, very good. So that medication has now reduced our inventory by 1. The next thing we'll do is we'll check on how this count in use works. Count in use is essentially the same thing. You're going to look at this and you're going to say all good. If there was any variance, we'll deal with how that would be dealt with shortly, and we'll hit save count. Now we're going to go back up. Let's click on Baritone's image again, and let's go back to medication services and nursing. And we're going to edit this medication counting. So I am going to click on the CT icon for count. And this time what I want to do is I want to add count overstock. And we're going to say count locked up medications. And we want to do that at the same time, perhaps as the other medication counting that we set up in use, or we could do that at a different time. Why don't we set this up at 6 o'clock p.m. for conversation's sake? But you understand the options that you have available to check and count this. So we save this schedule and that saves successfully. So just that easy, we have added another variant of counting in here. We'll go back to medication admin charting, and now you see count overstock any counted medications. So now when we click on count overstock, in this case, this brings up our overstock inventory to be counted. Remember, we put 80 in the closet and locked it up, and so we've gone in now and we've counted that, and we're going to come back and say all good again, and we'll save that count. So the chart is now complete for that. Let's take a look at how our inventory is managed through all of this. We'll click on inventory, and this is going to give us our count. We have the medication, 99 is on hand. We started off with 100. We have 80 of them in inventory, and we have 19 of them are available to be passed by the direct care staff. Our options are receive more medications if they are incoming. You would add them here, and if you were to add another 100, it would of course give you the option all over again to add any portion to overstock. What we're going to do first of all is let's take a look at our inventory report. And our default location is only because that is the name of this location for this demonstration. But let's take Baritone. And his medication is going to be any counted medication. And say show report. This is going to bring us up with an Excel spreadsheet that it's going to pop way up over here on the other side of my computer world. We'll bring that in for you to look at. And I'll large that up so you can see it very good. And now our wonderful editors are going to zoom in on that for you. So here's the history with this medication. You can see that the username was admin that worked on this. The customer is Baritone and the date and time. Notice we have a witness category here, and I'm going to get to that next, and the witness date and time. So now we can identify what user set up the medication, what user charted on the medication, what user said that that medication count was all good, at what date and time as the medication was passed. So if there was any variance in the medication counting, that variance is going to show up here. If there was no variance, as in this case, the medication does not show a variance. So we'll go ahead and we'll close that. I don't need to save that for anything. Let's use our administrative privileges now and go to Task Directory, Administrative Control Panel, New. And let's click on Company Preferences. Now, this feature as I look at this is going to be moved. I'm going to put that in the MAR configuration zone. But for the time being, we are looking for medication counting preferences. Like I say, after today, this will be moved and I will have to update the video. Click on Enable Witness Count for Medication Inventory, and we'll click on Save. And it says Count was successfully saved. With that saved, let's head back to our homepage. We'll move that out of the way, and let's go back to Medication Administration. I'm going to advance the day to where we have got some fresh charting that can be applied. And I'm going to click on Count and use any counted medication. So this is our dual signature that becomes required. We have a count comment. We have charted again today that I didn't show you in this demonstration. However, I did hit save on another chart just to validate something quickly. So again, we can add a comment and we can modify the remaining dose if something is out of line. The only difference is that you cannot save this unless you have a username of a witness. The person charting will not be able to use their own username. We can verify that witness, and this verifies that Huey B. Tinman has verified this, and we'll save the count. So our count in use has now been validated and signed by a witness. Let's go ahead one more day here. Go up to the 30th, count any counted medication. And in this case, we have not turned on a witness for each med pass. And that is something that we'll bring up in the next video and describe more how we will do that if you would ever need to do that.